let's dive into it. Let's talk Max Johnson. Let's talk what Max Johnson needs to do to have success against a Tennessee defense that has played a lot better than last year. If you haven't paid attention to Tennessee's defense, like if you've just been keep up with the scores, you still have like this impression of what they were last year, then you've missed it. They are definitely an improved defense. They're definitely getting pressure after the quarterback. It's not just pressure coming from those first few games, right? They started off with UVA and they had an FCS opponent, so they had a lot of pressure in those games, but they've been able to get pressure the following games. They're coming off a bye week, but before the bye week, they pretty much had their way with South Carolina. South Carolina's offensive line isn't great by any means, but they were still able to get pressure. So it's an improved defense. They've gotten a lot of pressure. They have 24 sacks of the season right now. So you can look for them to try to get pressure on Max Johnson, right? So if you're Max Johnson and you know this and you're going into this game, what are your keys to success? Well, I think number one is don't be a statue in the pocket. Max Johnson is more athletic than people probably think, but he needs it to kind of almost be designed. Like you need to be getting out of the pocket. You're not going to make a bunch of plays when the pressure is coming down on you. But if you have a play designed or a play set up to get yourself outside the pocket, whether it's like a partial roll or designed rollout, getting some designed quarterback runs, I think that can be a successful key to limit the Tennessee pass rush. Like against Alabama last week, I think Alabama had 5 or 6 sacks on Max Johnson. He wasn't really able to get going, right? It's because he was just kind of standing in the pocket, holding on the ball too long. When you compare Max Johnson's game against Arkansas 2 weeks ago, he had some pretty big runs. And he was able to get going, right? So I think he kind of needs that momentum to get going. So don't be a statue. I think you get Max Johnson moving, some design rollout, some straight quarterback runs, and just don't hold on the ball too long if you're Max Johnson. You don't want to be playing on 2nd and 15, 3rd and 16 type throws, right? You want to avoid those long down and distances. With that said, though, he has been really good against pressure, impressively good against pressure. So far this season, he's 25 of 48 for 316 yards passing and 4 touchdowns when pressure is in his face. That's really good number. That's really impressive, right? And that's a compliment to Max being able to, I think, process defenses from pre-snap to post-snap and being able to go through his reads and get the ball out. Like you saw that early against Alabama this past week, especially the first few drives, some 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6s. He hits his crossing routes and the guy's able to run 20, 30 yards. So I think it's the ability like that to process defenses, but you have to do it consistently. He's been really good against pressure, but he can still hold on the ball too long. So you have to do that consistently. I think you're going to have to be good against pressure against Tennessee, because even if you do get the run game going from Johnson, even if he's able to use his legs and avoid some pressure, I still think it's safe to say Tennessee's going to get some pressure on Johnson. So if you're Johnson, you're going to have to be good with it. And then number 3, the last key, kind of similar to Michael Penix that we talked about, distribute the ball all over the field. Make Tennessee defend the whole field, not just the middle of the field. Make them defend the entire field, short range, mid range, whatever it may be, deep shots. And he's been pretty consistent and done a pretty good job distributing it the entire field, throwing short passes and throwing deep passes. So I think to help ultimately win the game, he's going to have to kind of follow that blueprint, follow the blueprint that Florida had against Tennessee to an extent. Like Florida was efficient throwing the ball. They had a lot of just short throws. They took what the defense gave them. They didn't have really any deep shots, but I think you can follow Florida's blueprint as far as taking what the defense gives you. And then if you're Johnson, you have the receivers and you have the ability to take some shots deep, right? So if you're Max Johnson and you're playing against the Tennessee defense, those are the 3 keys just to kind of wrap and summarize things up. It's you take what the defense gives you, follow that Florida blueprint, short, medium throws. When they creep up, that's when you take your shots deep. Number 2, you're going to have to be good against pressure. Just like we talked about, Tennessee's getting pressure. Max Johnson's been pretty good against pressure, so you're going to have to perform well against pressure. And then number 1, I guess the last key is just don't be a statue in the pocket. Don't hold on the ball too long. Get the run game going, whether it's that designed rollouts from the play caller or it's just some quarterback runs. Get the run game going to help slow down that pressure. All right, let's move on to Joe Milton, quarterback for Tennessee. Again, I'm excited to see Milton against this defense. A&M's defense is pretty stout. They've been solid. So I'm excited to see Milton against this defense and see if Tennessee's offense kind of takes the step that the fans want them to take right now. All right, so when you think about A&M's defense, let's talk about A&M's defense first, and then we'll go into some Joe Milton. When you think about A&M's defense, you think about pressure. At one point, they led college football in sacks, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're still up there. They had 5 or 6 against Jalen Milroe from Alabama last week. They had like 7 against KJ Jefferson the week before. So, and Milroe had like negative 30-something yards rushing, right? So he wasn't able to get the run game going either. So they've been able to shut down mobile quarterbacks. They've been able to get pressure on the quarterbacks. They've been able to really cause some havoc back there. So A&M's defense, I think, is one of the best defenses probably in the nation. So when you think about A&M's defense, you think pressure, pressure, pressure. Joe Milton, I think he's probably played better than given credit for. I think he's run the offense good. I think they probably still want some more deep shots and some accuracy downfield. But overall, I think he's actually done pretty well. Now, the one thing he struggled on is facing pressure. Now, we talked about Max Johnson, and Johnson's been able to play pretty well when pressure in his face. Milton's struggled against pressure, and most quarterbacks do. When there's pressure in your face, it's hard to throw. Milton's 9 of 31 this year for 295 yards passing, 2 TDs, and 2 picks. Throwing against pressure when pressure's in his face, right? So A&M is going to want to get pressure. A&M is going to want to kind of cause havoc, especially the fact that he hasn't been fantastic against pressure. So how do you slow down the pressure if you're Milton? Well, I think it's kind of similar to Max Johnson, but I think you can use your legs. Like, I know I just mentioned that A&M's defense has shut down Milroe running, shut down KJ Jefferson running, right? A lot of those yardage have been sacks. So I think if you're Milton, I think early in the game, I think getting some true quarterback design runs, some RPOs where maybe you tell Milton, hey, just keep it this time. Just use your legs this time. Let's try to pick up the first down through legs. I think that can potentially slow down the pressure of A&M's offense, right? I don't know if it's always the best option to always drop back against A&M's defense, even if it's off play action, something they do a lot of. But I don't know if that's always the best option to do. So I think number one, use your legs if you're Milton. You're a good athlete. You're able to do that. And I know traditionally you want to just drop back and rip it, but use your legs some against this A&M defense. Number two, I think you're going to have to hit on some deep balls to win this game. I really do. I think A&M, they know the type of offense you run, right? And similar to Bo Nix, a lot of Milton's completions, like almost half of his completions are behind the line of scrimmage. I think 47 of his completions are behind the line of scrimmage. I think he has like 111. I don't know. I forget the exact completions. I did not write that down. That's my fault. But 47 completions have been thrown behind the line of scrimmage. Aggies are going to give that to him. The Aggies are going to give that every time, right? They're going to let you keep it in front. Even if you drive a little bit, they're going to let you have those short passes. So I think to win the game, I think to come out on top, you're going to have to hit on some deep passes. No big deal, right? He's only had 8 completions of 20 yards or more downfield so far. But still, if they force you to push it downfield, and if you're Joe Milton, it's time to say, hey, okay, like everyone's been talking about my accuracy, I can't hit on completions downfield, so go out and prove people wrong. But that's how Alabama was able to beat A&M last week. They gave Milroe those short passes, and to Milroe's credit, he did pretty well on the short passes, short completions, but they said, hey, just take these short passes, and if you are going to beat us, it's going to be in these deep, explosive passes that are tough, hard throws. Well, Milroe had 6 completions where the ball was thrown over 20 yards or more in the air. And right now, Milton only has 8 the entire year. So I think to beat A&M, you're going to have some of those type of throws, because some of those throws were just NFL next level throws by Milroe. People can say what they want about him, but when it comes to making some really tough throws, he's pretty damn good at it. So I think to beat A&M, to have some explosive plays against this defense, you're going to have to make some of those tough throws, the throws that Milroe made last week. He did a really good job. Last key, I think, for Milton, and this is more Tennessee in general, but I think the Tennessee receiver is going to have to make some plays, break some tackles. Yeah, we talked about Milton pushing the ball downfield. Yeah, we talked about Milton having to hit on some of those explosive plays probably to win. But their offense is centered around getting the ball out quick, receiver screens, just receivers catching the ball in space. So I think for that to continue to work, I think to continue to have success against A&M, I think some of the receivers are going to have to break some tackles and make some plays on those screens there. Should be a really exciting game. I think probably one of my favorite games to watch this weekend. Again, Tennessee, Texas A&M. We'll kind of recap it real quick. Max Johnson, what are the keys against this Tennessee defense? Don't be a statue in the pocket. Use your legs some, right? You know that pressure has been one of the main things Tennessee's defense has been able to do. 2, you have to be good against pressure, and he is good against pressure. So you have to consistently do that against pressure. And number 3, distribute the ball all over the field. Force Tennessee's defense to cover the whole field. Milton, recapping against A&M's defense. Again, similar to Tennessee's defense, A&M's defense has been excellent so far, and their MO is just getting pressure. I think they lead college football in sacks. I'm not sure, but if not, they're up there, right? So if you're Milton, I think use your legs. I think some design quarterback runs early in the game to get Tennessee or get A&M's defense maybe out of position. Number two, I think you're going to have to hit on some deep balls to win. Milrow had 6 of those deep balls last week to win. Milrow, excuse me. And then Milton has only had 8 of those deep balls so far completed this whole season. So I think you have to have some deep balls to beat A&M's defense, and then hopefully receivers can make some plays as well on those quick receiver screens. All right, let's move on here. Again, anyone in the chat,